In 2023, we listed our favourite episodes of the modern era, but now we thought it would be fun to take a look at what the fans think. This list will rank the 10 best episodes by their IMDb user rating, and there are a couple here that you definitely won't see coming. Now, 2 quick rules before we begin. 1, we're only taking standalones into consideration here, so no two-parters. And to keep things more interesting, we're banning the 2 obvious frontrunners, Blink and Heaven Sent. Sorry, Moffat. I'm Ellie for Who Culture here with the 10 best Doctor Who episodes according to you. Number 10, The Waters of Mars, rating 8.8 out of 10. Let's kick things off with an RTD classic. The Waters of Mars takes Ten's god complex, sets a fire under him and watches him boil. Tennant gives one of his greatest performances in the role, jumping from his usual bouncy self to unhinged and desperate to cold and downright unnerving. All that angry staring aside, it's a top tier episode elsewhere too. It gives us one of the best supporting casts ever in the doomed crew of Bowie Base 1, and Lindsay Duncan couldn't have been a more suitable one-off companion for the story that was told. The Mars setting is beautifully realised, and a big up for Gadget. The icing on the cake is an all-timer villain in The Flood, creatures that are absolutely bone-chilling both visually and conceptually. There are few episodes that sell a threat like this one does. For such an important and memorable episode, it's no surprise that fans voted it near the top. In fact, the only surprise is that it isn't higher. Number 9, The Doctor's Wife, rating 8.9 out of 10. Remember when Neil Gaiman wrote for Doctor Who? Not that naff one with the Cybermen and the world's most annoying children. This one. It took until 2011 for Doctor Who to do something that, quite frankly, it was a little shocking it took 48 years to think of. It gave the TARDIS a body and a voice and let it run around with the Doctor, and boy was it fun. With an incredible script that is funny, exciting and emotional all at once, The Doctor's Wife hits the beats you'd want from a conversation between the Doctor and his loyal ship. Saran Jones takes a role that could have easily slipped into cringe territory and toes the line perfectly, and an unrecognisable Michael Sheen is fantastic as the sadistic House. And that scene where Amy and Rory are tormented in the TARDIS corridors? Oh, mwah, yes, perfect. The Doctor's Wife narrowly missed out on our own top 10 list, so it is great to see it here. A worthy contender indeed, and it's about time Gaiman was given another bite at the apple, don't you think? Number 8, Turn Left, rating 8.9 out of 10. I love this episode. Turn Left also missed out on our own top 10, but again, it came so close. This is an episode that could only work in the era of the show it was created for. Russell T Davies spent years building a connected universe of spin-offs, and the back half of Series 4 is where we really saw this pay off, with Turn Left bringing these Whoniverse characters together and systematically killing off every single one of them. It's a true powerhouse of a what-if story. How would various Earth-based adventures play out without the Doctor's intervention? Catastrophically is the answer. Seriously, Doctor Who has rarely, if ever, been so bleak. This is without a doubt Catherine Tate's best performance as Donna, showcasing a vulnerability that we don't see much outside of this story. And we'd argue that it's also the strongest performance of the late Bernard Cribbins as well. If Wilf's reaction to the government opening labour camps doesn't get your lip quivering, you are a stone cold robot. Number 7, The Angels Take Manhattan, rating 9 out of 10. We arrive at what will likely be the first big surprise for many of you. The Angels Take Manhattan is good, but it's not widely considered superior to, say, The Doctor's Wife, The Waters of Mars and Turn Left. Still, it's an episode with some dizzying highs. It gets full marks for style and setting, mixing New York detective noir with paranormal horror to great effect. The Weeping Angels slot into this setting immaculately, though the Angel of Liberty continues to be one of the most baffling creative decisions of the modern era. Let's be honest, it's not even made of stone. But it's the Pond's final farewell that makes this one for the history books. Moffat pulls an end of time on us, allowing us to hope for a moment that the inevitable goodbye has been averted, only to snatch Amy and Rory away at the last moment. It was brilliantly written, brilliantly acted, and Murray Gold, stop making us cry, you monster! The Pond spent more time in the Doctor's life than almost any other companion, and watching them get torn away from him was always going to be rough. I mean, it's been over a decade, and this doesn't get any easier to watch. Number 6, The Name of the Doctor, rating 9 out of 10. You thought The Angels Take Manhattan would be the most surprising entry on this list? Nope, think again. Serving as a direct lead-in to the 50th anniversary extravaganza, Series 7 finale The Name of the Doctor sits firmly in the shadow of its successor. It tends to be remembered for the shock reveal of John Hurt as the War Doctor, but upon closer inspection, it's got a lot going for it that might explain its high ranking. Love it or hate it, the episode provides an interesting explanation for the Impossible Girl mystery and finally gives us a look at the Doctor's grave on Trenzalore. There's a broader cast of companions with the ever-lovable Paternoster gang in tow, and River's song, rather awkwardly watching resurrecting her husband from beyond the grave. But she's still in it, so it's fine. I love it. Richard E. Grant is having the time of his life as the Great Intelligence too, though the less said about the wasted potential of the Whispermen, the better. Oh, and Jenny dying mid-Zoom call is also a great moment. For such a monumental moment in Doctor Who history, it doesn't quite come together as well as you'd hope, though clearly the people of the internet disagree. Number 5, A Good Man Goes to War, rating 9 out of 10. That's 3 River Song episodes in a row. I know I always say she's the best character, but look, the ratings speak for themselves, people. And this episode is a banger. If you're looking for pure adrenaline, A Good Man Goes to War is a hype train that shoots out the station the moment Rory swaggers onto the bridge of a Cyberman ship in full Centurion garb and blows up a fleet just to make a point. The fist-pumping energy of this episode doesn't relent as it continues giving us multiple moments of badassery throughout. The Doctor feels absolutely unstoppable here, and it's glorious. And that's why the moment he does fail hits like a truck. Well, there's the liquefying of a newborn baby too, which also helps sell the tragedy just a little bit. It seems like all hope is lost until the last minute of the episode, and quite possibly the best twist in modern Doctor Who, with the reveal that Melody Pond is River Song. It was guessable pre-release, sure, but the moment itself was flawlessly executed, so shush. It's the complete opposite of the name of the Doctor in that it brings its subplots and series arcs together in an almost perfect manner, while delivering a knockout standalone episode to boot. It's rarely included in lists like these though, so we're glad that it made the cut, and if I had my way, it would have made our list as well, just saying. Number 4, Midnight, rating 9 out of 10. The Doctor has always had an innate ability to take control of a situation and to convince others that they're the smartest person in the room. It's an element of the show we take for granted. After all, as the audience, we know the Doctor can be trusted, but characters in the show don't have 60 years of context. So what happens if you take the Doctor's authority and sprinkle in some intense paranoia? Well, Midnight answers that question. This fan-favourite bottle episode gives us one of the creepiest villains ever in the entirely unexplained Midnight entity, a creature of unknown power which can steal a victim's voice. We watch a group of mostly rational tourists descend into utter hysteria and succumb to pack tactics as they turn against the one person who might be able to help. It's riveting psychological horror, with one of the greatest scripts ever written for the show and some knockout sound design and performances.
I'm just travelling. I'm a traveller.
It's fairly common consensus that this is the best Russell T Davies penned episode to date, so it's no surprise to see it so high up on the list. Number 3, The Girl in the Fireplace, rating 9.2 out of 10. Controversial opinion, I'm not actually a big fan of this episode. And if you never hear from me or see me again, it's because Sean Ferrick has flown over here and murdered me for that opinion. The Girl in the Fireplace is a very interesting episode to look back on with the Moffat era under our belts. At the time, it was rather unique in its premise and was incredibly well received. So well received, in fact, that Moffat would recycle the ideas in this plot throughout his reign as showrunner. Little girl meets strange man who saves her from the monsters and grows up with him as an imaginary friend. He turns up again when she's older and saves her once more, but this time she's into him. He then accidentally abandons her a second time. Sound familiar? There's plenty to love elsewhere. The setting of pre-revolution France is beautifully realised, the clockwork droids make for striking villains, and David Tennant's chemistry with Sophia Myles rather awkwardly blows what he has with Billie Piper out of the window. It's an interesting microcosm of Moffat that tells you all you need to know about him as a writer in 45 minutes, despite predating Matt Smith by a whole 4 years. It's actually 7th on the full IMDb list, which is higher than you'd expect it to be, but there is no doubt that it is a special episode. Number 2, The Day of the Doctor, rating 9.3 out of 10. Obviously, this one was coming. Doctor Who's 50th anniversary was a success in a way that few people anticipated, flinging the show back to the top of mainstream cultural relevance. With a fan favourite Doctor returning and a brand new secret incarnation played by acting royalty, the scale of this story was immense. The decision to finally tackle the Time War head-on was well earned, and it feels like the culmination of the 7 series leading up to that point, flicking the switch on a status quo reset for 12 and allowing the incoming Doctor to tread new ground in his character development. It's an episode that has it all, sticking the landing on every emotional beat, every joke, every bit of bantering, and every badass action sequence, and the ending, in which Gallifrey is saved, is pure euphoria. It's rare for fans to unanimously agree on something, but show us someone who doesn't like the Day of the Doctor and we'll show you a unicorn. It was worthy of the occasion and then some. And look, no disrespect to the 60th anniversary specials, but this is how you celebrate a major milestone in Doctor Who history. Number 1, Vincent and the Doctor, rating 9.3 out of 10. It's delightful to see Vincent and the Doctor so high up the ranking. Of all the celebrity historicals in the modern era, none hold a candle to the emotional power of this one. Cutting right to the chase, the story is most fondly remembered for the scene in which Van Gogh, a man who who died penniless with no respect or renown sees the full extent of his legacy. It's an iconic Doctor Who moment and a genuine tearjerker. The episode does a fantastic job of portraying Vincent's depression and erratic nature, especially upon discovering that the Doctor and Amy plan to leave once the Crephaeus is dealt with, and the metaphor of the invisible monster that only Vincent can see is sublime. Likewise, the scene in which we see the world through Vincent's eyes as the trio stares at a starry night is an absolute triumph. Vincent and the Doctor shows the full extent of what Doctor Who is capable of. It has the power to change your view of the world. It educates, it entertains, it reminds you that there is always hope, even in dark times. It continues to leave a powerful impression on Doctor Who fans, and it's a thoroughly earned #1 choice. And that concludes our list, but while we're on the topic of Doctor Who greats, why not check out 20 Doctor Who moments we'll never forget. In the meantime, I've been Ellie with Who Culture, and in the words of River Song herself, goodbye, sweeties.